Welcome back to Quick Strike. We are on video number 9 for the month of February. Today we are going to cover another topic. We're going to jump around a little bit in the menu. Yesterday, if you remember, if you're watching in sequences, we looked at the pricing sheets, standard sheets, and today we're going to look at vol tools, vol skew. Again, you'll see that we've landed on, we're on WTI today. And we've landed on Market Dashboard Product Overview like we do every time we log into Quick Strike. We come to the product summary page. Again, just to get your feet wet as to where we are each time we open up Quick Strike for the day. So let's get started on vol tools, vol skew. And what we're going to be able to see here is the vol curves for the individual expirations. So you'll notice right now that we're on a March contract, okay, LOH6, and what we're seeing is the solid line is showing us the vol curve for this contract as it stands right now, and the dashed line is where we settled yesterday. So we're seeing a couple things here that we can notice right away. The bigger point or the marker, that is the at the money or the strike that's closest to the futures price at that time. So we see that we are down about $1.50 in the contract today, and at the money was at 29.5 at settlement, meaning at the end of the day yesterday, and it's currently around 28 right now. And you'll also notice here, you'll see the last volatility was updated at 1:46 p.m. So like I said in previous videos, we are about every half hour starting at 6:45. And you'll see that we're sticking to what we've talked about, how it's a parallel shift in the volatility curve. So what you notice here is that vol is up slightly on the day. And we didn't do anything to change the shape of the curve. We just simply moved the volatility up and or down depending on which way, what the direction of the change is. So we will see a little bit of a difference here in the at the money. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to match these up, these at the monies up, even if we've had a movement in the underlying, and we're going to have a look at a different way that we can present these curves. But first, let's take a look at how we can affect change on this chart with some of the items in the analysis bar. Like we've always been saying throughout this process, anytime we see some text and an icon, that's probably a button that we can click in order to make some changes on the chart. So first, let's start with the display, because that's going to really be the thing that has the most effect on the presentation of the chart. So in this case, you'll see I have the show settlement curve checked. So if I turn that off, I'm just going to see where the present curve is, right? So here we are at 28. So let's put that settlement curve back on, and now you see that we are 28, and here's 29.5. So this is where we opened this morning. Other things that you can do here is I can put the future price on there, so I can click that on, and now we're seeing it's about 28 and 22 cents, $28.22. So we're close to the 28 strike, and we're kind of getting close to the 28.5 strike. So during this presentation, there's a chance if the futures move up a little bit, we'll see a shift towards the 28.5 strike as the at the money. Hopefully that's the case, so you get to see that in action. I'm not sure what we're going to expect for the rest of the day, or if there's much of the rest of the day left. So let's turn these guys off, and the next thing that we could look at, you'll see it says show history curve. So right now, today's the 9th, so right now if I showed the history curve, if I check that, it's going to show not much different here. So we're seeing the 9th, and then we're showing the 8th. So this is what things look like in the database. You'll notice that this is a smooth looking curve. So what we do is we fit the curve and then smooth it out. So you'll see there's a little bit of a difference here in the shape in comparison to what we saw when we did the settlement curve, but similar nonetheless to some extent. Next, what we can also do is we can go back in time here as well. So if we can, let's see, I think we keep a month's worth of data that we make available in the professional version, which is what we've been demoing throughout this process. So if I click on the 11th and say, okay, we're going to see how that curve looks as well. Now you're noticing how the at the money is way over here, and there's a good chance that on the 11th, the at the money was at a different location. like I stated earlier, we're gonna find a different way to look at this so we can sort of make these agnostic vol charts, meaning we'll line up the at the monies in a way that'll make it very useful for us to do some analysis and take a look at what we think is happening with the vol skew and that type of thing. But for now, let's just go back to where we were, turn off that and say okay, and here we go. Now we just back to where our curve is right this minute. So the next thing to keep in mind is that if you want to look at different curves, you can go through here and select them from the drop down, okay? And remember, this third line is the drop down selection for the expirations that are available within a given product, right? Then what we could also do is with this expiration filter, you're going to notice that this LOH6, it's grayed out. I can't click on it at all. That's telling me this is the current contract being displayed in the chart. But if I'd like, I can add other contracts to this chart, and you'll see it's showing up behind how those are being displayed for us. Now, the question always comes back to me is, well, why can't I turn off this March chart? Well, because we wanted to always have a default chart that that was present. So if you wanted to compare just April and May, the way to do that would be go pick April and then come over here and select May, okay? And then there you go, you have April and May together. So with this expiration filter, so I'm going to go back to March again, we can decide to check as many of these boxes as we want to display in the chart, okay? So let's just throw a couple on here, or at least one. Let's take a look. Let's start there, okay? So you'll notice too that when I check these boxes, the chart automatically refreshes in the background. So you don't have to hit OK. You'll get another refresh here. But if you just click on the chart, that box will go away. Now, again, you'll see how our at the monies are a little bit away from each other, right? This one is about, if we hover on it, I should get where we are. I'm not getting my numbers back. Okay, but we're on the 30 strike here and we're on the 28 strike here. So it's a little bit difficult when the at the monies aren't lined up to really get a good idea of how the curves match up against each other. So one way that we've added to look at the volatility is a vol by delta. So if you click on this by delta tab, what this is going to do is it's going to interpolate these actual delta values. So these are not strikes that are necessarily real within the expiration, but these are the theoretical 45 through 5 delta call and 45 through 5 delta put. And what this lets you do is compare these curves on an apples to apples basis. So now we're looking at the 50 delta strike and the 50 delta strike here in March. So these are, for all intents and purposes, considered the at the monies, right? So this is a nice way to do comparisons of charts that have different at the money strike prices. So if we go back to strike, we're going to see that our little at the money markers are in different locations, right? So this is right now, this is how the curve looks in the WTI. Front month is cheapest, and then it gets less cheap or more expensive as you move out on the curve. So right, we're going March, April, May, June. So that's what you see happening here. Okay, so if I just select this again, I'm going to clear that out, and let's just go back to our display and show the settlement curve. So we noticed before in the settlement curve that we also had this little bit of strike disparity. So an easy way to just see if skew's changed much, meaning the shape of the curve has changed much throughout the day. If you click on the by delta tab, you're going to see that we don't have too much of a change. Maybe a little bit of a change in slope over here on this curve, but really you're seeing for the most part a shift in the volatility up. So we have a little bit higher volatility from the open or from last night to present. Okay. So again, we have buy strike, and we've been looking at buy delta when we want to compare and see the shape of the curve to see if it's changed much. Buy strike is just going to, be the regular charts that you're used to seeing out there usually. And then finally, there's another one called moneyness, and not a lot of people are comfortable using this, but this looks at things just from, instead of like that 50 delta being the center, it's got a 100 moneyness as being sort of the center, and that's kind of where we're looking at with this dashed black line. So that's where we are for today. It's kind of a quick one, but at the same time, it gives you a lot of detail in terms of what you can do with this chart. You're going to see this chart, popped into different pages throughout Quick Strike, but now you'll know if you see two lines, one dark, one with a dash, then you know that you're looking at current versus the settlement. And recall again, if you see text with a button, you can click on that and make selections to change the chart. And as well, we always going to be showing here when the last volatility update took place. So again, thanks for taking the time to watch the video. Today we looked at the Vol Tools Vol Skew, and we'll continue to work our way through this menu as the days in February progress. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.